the submit questions page. How do you use the submit questions page? When you get to the site, it's going to take you to the home page that contains a list of questions here. The menu here has about 4 lists, each of which you could choose from. When you click on the questions, which serves as the home page, it's going to bring you to a list of questions that has been previously asked before you asked yours. But the one which we are concerned about is how do you submit a question in this forum. So you click on submit question. Now when you click on submit question, it brings you to a page that contains a form. Now the first space which you have to fill is the post title space. Now I'll advise you here to try as much as possible to make your title to be as clear as possible so that anybody who's going to answer your question would be the right candidate to answer that question. I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say there. So for example, if you have a question like, how can I use this forum? Now here you could either fill the space or you could leave it blank. It doesn't really matter. But if you fill the space, it's going to help others who have similar questions to yours to be able to find solutions to their question. For example, if you're going to have to fill this space, all you need to do is you find some keywords either in your head as the title of your post or within the content. Any keywords you have there, you punch them here and separate them with commas. So I'm going to choose use and forum. So we have use and then you have forum. Those are going to be my keywords. And here is the post category. So from here you could choose any homework depending on the question you're asking. So but being that mine is general, I click on general. And I ask my question. How can I type mathematics stuff in this forum? Now having done this, you click on submit post. Now it brings you to the home page, and then here you see the question has been posted. Now mind you, you should note that for your question to be posted in this forum, you have to be a registered user. If you are not a registered user, your question will not be posted. So to register in a forum, there is going to be a form here which you will be expected to fill. By the time you fill in the form, then your posts would your question will be posted. Yep. So having done this, let me now teach you how to use or how to type mathematics stuffs in this forum. A quick overview of how it's been done anyway. So I'm going to explain to you using some few examples that we have here. So the first thing you need to know is whenever you're typing an equation, we have two kinds of equation type setting. The first is an inline equation, and then the second is an equation in display format, or you could just say a display equation. So you could see the difference between the two of them here. So here is in, while here is in display format. So to do something like this, or to type an equation or a question of this format, all you need to do is you have is. Now to start typing an equation, which is going to be in an inline format, you start with the left stroke and open left bracket, and then you type. So since the first thing we are having here is a fraction, you have slash frac, then the numerator is the y, while the denominator is the x. So we close that, equals 2x raised to the power. whenever you have a subscript or a superscript, you always put them in braces. So I've done that. Now since we've opened it with this, we need to close our brackets. So we still use the same left stroke, but this time the right bracket. Ordinary brackets, and then you post your comments. Yeah, it's the same thing. You see, the y dx equals 2x squared is this. So we've neglected an equation, we didn't type that. I wanted you to just see the similarity between the two of them. So you're going to see a difference here. How can I write an equation in display format here? So like we have an example of an equation is, now to write in display format, previously, since it's an equation, you might think the first thing is a fraction, so you have slash frac the y dx equals 2x squared, and then you close. But this won't post this equation in display format, because I told you earlier on that this is for an inline equation. So the only difference between the inline and in display is the brackets. So instead of using ordinary brackets here, we use square brackets for the opening and the closing. Having done this, you post your comments. Yeah, so you can see it's the same thing. Now let me now teach you a similar problem, how to type an equation like this. So looking at this, you know it's in an inline format. So to start typing the equation, the first thing you do is you have the left stroke and the open bracket, then you begin to type cos x, then this is a fraction, the y dx, so you punch in slash frac, then the top is the y, while the bottom is the x, plus the open bracket sine x, close bracket y equals 1. And then we need to close it with the left stroke and closing bracket. Then you post your comment. So it says duplicate comment detected. So as you're typing the same thing, it's a comment actually, so you shouldn't be typing the exact thing back. So let me just do this just for you to accept it. Yeah, so it's accepted. So how then do we type something like this? This is also an inline equation. So the first thing you have here is a fraction, an ordinary number, another fraction, and this time around we have a square root sign. How do we type something like this? So since it's an inline equation, we start with the left stroke and the open brackets. So what we have is a fraction here, slash frac, we have the h, and then the t equals negative c. So we also have a new fraction here, slash frac. So this is for the top and for the bottom. Now, but for the top, we have a subscript h. So you can see that we have a subscript h. So let's type that we have a subscript h. And the next one is a subscript w. Now the next thing we have is the square root sign. So we have slash sqrt for the square root sign, 2gh, and then we close it. So after doing that, we post the comment. So it still says duplicate comment detected. I'm actually doing all this for you so that you know that when you're trying to give someone a comment, you shouldn't be typing the exact thing back. So this is quite different, but it's also simple. It's an inline equation. You start with this, and then you have x to the power 2. You have y prime prime minus xy prime plus 2y equals 0, and then you close it with the leg stroke and the closing bracket. So you post comment. Whoopee, it's the same thing. So you observe, I'm actually typing the same thing, but there's a difference here. I'm putting a dot sign here. And then lastly, to type something like this, so what we have here is an int sign, an integral sign. So since it's an inline equation, we start with the left stroke, open bracket. So what we have here is an integral sign. We have /int for the integral sign. And then you continue 2x dx. And then you close. You post your comment. It should be the same thing. But this time around, you observe that we have learned some new things here. Anyway, this should be like a basic guide for you to start submitting questions. Should you have any other questions, there are other resources over the internet that you could check in terms of how to use LaTeX or some other stuff like that. I'll help you. So with this, you can start submitting questions. Thank you.